Hi everyone, Charlie here. The children at Invicta Primary School had some excellent questions about the moon, so we thought we'd ask an expert. I'm here with Imo Bell from the Royal Observatory. Can you introduce yourself, Imo?
Hi, yes, I'm Imo Bell. I am the Astronomy Education Assistant at the Royal Observatory Greenwich, and I help out with things like planning activities for schools that come in, and I do things like writing about space and presenting planetarium shows.
Amazing! Sounds like we've come to the right person. Okay, kids, let's hear what questions you have about the moon.
My name is Tayim and I'm 7 years old. What is the moon?
Hi Tayam, thank you for your question. So the moon is a type of object called a moon. Just like the Earth is a planet, the moon is a moon. And a moon is an object that goes around or orbits a planet. There are hundreds of moons in the solar system, but the moon is the one that orbits our planet Earth.
Wow! There's more than one moon?
Yes, Charlie, there's loads of moons in the solar system. Not all planets have a moon though, so Mercury and Venus don't have a moon. Mars has 2 moons, but Saturn has the most moons in the solar system. I think at last count it was 146, but to be honest, we keep on finding more.
My name's Melody and I am 8 years old and I wonder, how is the moon made?
Hi Melody, a very interesting question. So, about 4.5 billion years ago, when the solar system and the Earth were still forming, we think that a massive object, maybe about the size of Mars, so half the size of Earth, smashed into baby Earth and then melted all of the rock, which then remained in orbit around the planet Earth, clumped together, and then the moon was born.
Are all moons formed like that?
Not all moons are formed like that. Some moons are space rocks that kind of get captured by coming too close to other planets, and they get pulled towards them by gravity and stuck in orbit around that planet.
My name is Vasishta. I am 8 years old. My question about the moon is, how big is the moon?
Hi Vasishta. So the moon is 3,475 kilometers from end to end. Or, if Earth was the size of a tennis ball, the moon would be about the size of a marble. If you squashed the moon up, you could squash 49 moons inside of the Earth.
My name is Victor. I am 7 years old. How long does it take to walk around the moon?
Hi Victor. Okay, so on average, the moon is about 10,900 kilometers around, or 6,800 miles. On Earth, that walking distance would be similar to walking from London to Singapore, which would take, without stopping, 100 days. But on the moon, you're a lot slower because you'd have to wear a big bulky spacesuit because there's no air on the moon, there's no atmosphere, so you need to be protected from the harsh rays of the sun.
Hang on, there's no air on the moon?
Yeah, no, there is no air on the moon. There is no atmosphere on the moon like there is on Earth. We're very lucky to have an atmosphere that protects us from the harsh rays of the sun, with air that we can breathe on the planet Earth. So when we go to the moon, we have to bring that all with us and keep it all nice and tight in a big, safe, bulky spacesuit. You'd have to wear these big, bulky boots, and they would make footprints in the moon, and these would stay on the moon for millions of years because there's no atmosphere, there's no wind blowing the footprints away, so these footprints would stay on the moon forever and ever, for millions of years.
My name is Olivia and I'm 7.5. My question is, what are the stages of the moon?
Hi Olivia, very good question. So if you look at the moon on different days, you will notice that it changes, and we refer to these as the phases of the moon. Just like Earth, the moon has a day side, the side that faces the sun, and a night side, the side that is facing away from the sun. And we see different amounts of the lit up side of the moon as the moon orbits or goes around the Earth. It takes just over 27 days for the moon to orbit around the Earth and 29.5 days for us to see all the phases of the moon in the sky.
My name is Aman and I'm 8 years old. and my question is, how many craters are on the moon?
Hiya, man. Really good question. So, the craters on the moon are from space rocks smashing into the moon's surface. So, it's really difficult to count because there's just so many. If you include all the teeny tiny ones, there's over 1 million craters on the moon. And that's because the craters that are left behind can stay for millions, even billions of years, because there's nothing to make them fade away on the moon like they would fade away on Earth, like lack of atmosphere, no wind, or tectonic activity, which is when the crust of the Earth moves around and recycles itself. That doesn't happen on the moon.
My name is Casey. I'm 7 years old, and my question about the moon is, how big is a crater on the moon?
Hi, Casey. Really interesting question. The craters on the moon range in size a lot. A crater that you can see pretty easily because it has distinct rays extending out from the crater is the Tycho crater. This one is 85 kilometers or 53.5 miles from end to end. That means London would be able to fit inside of this crater. You can see lots of craters like this with your own eyes if you see the full moon. The biggest crater is called the South Pole Aitken Basin, and it's about 2,500 kilometers or 1,600 miles from end to end. That's just really, really, really big.
My name is Nakaya, and I'm 7 years old. My question is, why is the moon grey? Why can't it be rainbow?
Hi, Nakaya. That is such a good question. Why can't the moon be a rainbow? So, the moon is grey. It's lots of different shades of grey and brownish grey. With your own eyes, you can see the much darker patches on the moon, and these are called maria, which is a Latin word for seas, and this is because early astronomers thought that there were seas on the moon. Are there seas on the moon? No, absolutely not. They were wrong. So back when the moon was still forming, it was covered in these patches of molten lava, and then that solidified and formed these darker patches. But the moon can also be a rainbow. There's a whole rainbow of colours associated with the moon. So sometimes the moon is not lit up properly by the sun, and that appears kind of reddish in the sky. So you can actually get a reddishy, orangey moon. Sometimes it can look pink.
Can you tell me a bit more about astronauts landing on the moon?
Yes, so quite a lot of astronauts have landed on the moon. So the first time we landed on the moon was in 1969, and we even had the first person walk on the moon then. This was an astronaut called Neil Armstrong, followed by an astronaut called Buzz Aldrin. And in total we've had 12 astronauts walk on the moon, but we haven't actually been back to the moon since 1972. But we are planning to go back.
How does it feel to walk on the moon?
I wish I could tell you from first-person experience, but I have never walked on the moon, sadly. Maybe one day. But I bet we can imagine it. So the force that feels like it's sticking us to the ground, gravity, would be much, much, much weaker. So you'd feel like you're really, really light and floaty, maybe a little bit like you're underwater. Every single step you'd take, it would feel like you'd bounce quite high. So maybe if you imagine you jump on the trampoline going high into the sky every single time you take a step, and you'd have to wait to come down. So if you jumped on the moon, you'd go really, 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 really far. And you'd probably feel quite constricted though, because you'd have to be wearing a big bulky spacesuit, so you wouldn't be able to put your arms all the way down, and you wouldn't be able to move very quickly.
How do astronomers know stuff about the moon?
That is a really good question. You don't have to send a whole person or a whole team of people to the moon. What really, really early astronomers did was they would look at the moon with their eyes, or maybe with a telescope, or just binoculars. And you can draw the moon every single day, where it is in the sky, where you see it, what time, what it looks like, and you could track how it changes. And that helped early astronomers to figure out what was actually happening with the moon. But what we've also done is sent robots to the moon. So we've sent things that land on the moon, and they can analyze the soil, but we've also got stuff that orbits around the moon. So a bit like how we have satellites orbiting around the planet Earth, we also have satellites orbiting around the moon. They take pictures of the surface of the moon and they send them back to Earth.
My name is Sophia, and I'm 8 years old. How does the moon affect the ocean?
Hi Sophia. The moon affects the ocean a lot. As the moon orbits around the Earth, the oceans rise up on the side facing the moon and also the side away from the moon. And that is how we get the tides. So we get 2 low and high tides a day as the Earth spins on its axis.
Thank you to Imo from the Royal Observatory for those spectacular answers.
Thank you so much for the children of Invicta Primary School for all of your amazing questions. They were all really interesting. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thanks for tuning into Audiomoves today. If you loved learning these fascinating space facts, why not take it to the next level? Try one of our movement episodes and float on the moon, dodge asteroids, and soar through the stars right from your own home. Don't forget to subscribe, share with friends, and leave a review. If space has captured your imagination, you're in luck. We've covered loads of fascinating space-related topics in other episodes of this series. And if you enjoyed hearing from today's astronomer, why not take your curiosity even further? Check out the Royal Observatory in Greenwich. It's the perfect place to expand your cosmic knowledge. See you next time!